Hey everyone, this is Sahand with another Details Pro video. Today I'm going to show you everything that's new in our latest template pack. This is the May 2025 template pack called Travel Collection. So every month I've been adding a template pack to Details Pro starting with last month, and I'm going to drop a video for the April 25 one. But in this video, I'm just going to show you what all the different templates are and give you a couple tips on, I think, how you could best use each one. So we'll just go in order. You can see these templates here in the Design Studio tab if you scroll down. And you can also hit the See All button here to get to a bigger view and also browse last month's template pack and all the other included SwiftUI templates in Details Pro. So let's just start with the very first one, Place Gallery. Okay, so this one is a pretty crazy design. It is very image heavy. So I think this would be great if you had anything where you've got something that can work as a good kind of hero background image in the back. I love this use of expanded SF Pro. So if you haven't checked that out, this is also kind of a cool way to get started. If you go to the font, down here when you're using SF, you can pick between, normally it's regular, regular, but you can go up to expanded, and there's also compressed and condensed. So this just, I thought, really kind of worked for the travel vibe of, kind of modern brandy things. I'm also going to be adding in custom fonts finally to Details Pro in a future update, but do have fun checking out this expanded part. So this design has got this big, really image heavy thing. It's got the nice title at the top. And then the other thing is it uses repeat to do these cards. So if you look over here, you've got a repeat element and you've got a few items here. So for example, we could pick the second one and we could change the text to say, hello, YouTube. And you see how that's jumping right into the card. So this also kind of gives you a nice template where you can grab these cards. You could just use the cards by themselves, or you could use them in a repeat. And either way, that's pretty fun. So let's go on to the second one. But yeah, this design, don't worry if you don't have an application for this specifically. It is definitely a more out there screen. I think some of the other screens in here are a little bit more like way common to use for things. So let's start with the next one. So place card. I love cards. I could design these, for the rest of my life, just every day, and just keep doing this. This one is really interesting. I think the thing that I really wanted to give to people with this was an example of a little bit more dense information. So like this little thing right here with the icon for hiking and the mileage, that could really be used. Like you could do a whole row of those. That's of course an SF symbol, and you want to make sure you're using first text baseline to get those perfectly lined up. But besides that, it's a pretty basic design. You could really go ahead and change, for example, you could use it like on white, which would be nice. And I think, let's do background. We'd probably add a shadow to that to help it stand out. And we'd bring that way down. This shadow is also currently affecting everything, including the overlay. I just want it to affect the rectangle, so I'm going to bring it to the top of the list. Oh, sorry, after the frame, after the corner radius. There we go. So you could change this a bunch of ways. I think this might also have an aspect ratio on it. It does. So, if you don't really have squares in your designs, you could go ahead and switch up a lot of this stuff. And, we could put a spacer at the bottom of this, get those things centered. A lot of things to find with this template. So this one, it's just a small piece. You're going to want to integrate it into something else, but I thought always fun to make cards. Okay, so the next one. Okay, here's where we're getting into, I think, really usable stuff. So this one's called Simple Login, and I think the overarching part of this is this design is all about when you don't have images, because not every app, not every use case has beautiful photos. It's really fun to design with beautiful photos, but you might not have that. So I wanted to show a design where you can still make it look pretty nice and still have a feeling of, it's not just text, but it really is at the end of the day just text. So let's say your design was something for cooking. You could change this to, I'm going to search even though I know cooking could have nice photos, but let's say you don't. Let's say you're doing something really technical. You could change this up to, something, maybe do like orange, and maybe we change this color to white. Is there a softer version of this? No, there's just that. Maybe we do this one. So we do something that might be too many containers. I'll go back to just the fork and knife. And, you change that to something cooking related, and you can put in a slogan, put in a little explainer. So yeah, this is pretty good. It also should be working great in dark mode. Totally does. So this is a design that I think should be really, really usable, and you should really be able to flex it into different forms. As I go to the next one, this is a nice time to let you know that, just to remind you that some of these are free and some of these are premium. So basically, if you have a premium subscription, you can access any of these premium templates. And you could also, honestly, you don't have to stay subscribed to use them. You could subscribe for a couple months and just save all these that you want. And then in future months, just duplicate those files. So it's, it's not something like, I want someone to be able to subscribe in April and use those designs in December. That you don't have to stay subscribed to keep using them. But it's a really nice way if you want to support the app and you want to encourage me to continue making these designs. You could stay subscribed and you'll always get all the cool new templates. I'm definitely doing these monthly packs, and I'm also planning on doing some template packs just like when there's, an OS release or anything inspiring. So look forward to that. But I believe since I'm running this locally, I'm going to have to sign up for this. So this is just running on my computer, so this isn't going to charge me. Okay, so let's go ahead with the next one here. Okay, and I'm going to come out of dark mode. So now, okay, this is the opposite of the one that we just looked at. So simple login is you don't have images. So how can we make this look pretty? Gallery login is just kidding. We do have images, and let's make this look really pretty. So I think the big thing with this, I love these rounded rectangles in the back, and a nice touch, this design uses a blur for that square. So let me go back down to fit here. So you can notice right here, instead of a color, this is one of the materials, which I believe ultra thin worked the best. So yeah, this one's kind of cool. It does have less text than simple login. Simple login fit in those two different texts, but if you do have some nice images, I think this is really vivid, really bright, really pops out, and is a beautiful thing to include. So let's keep going. Okay, now here's something a little bit more in the middle. This is we have images. We're not trying to dive into something that is full screen or so heavy if you think this is heavy. I love this too because I think these images in this carousel, quote unquote, do look like they could be things. So those could be, different products. They could be different artists or different people or different concepts. They don't have to all be like a travel photo. But this is a really cool one. It's really clean with the white backdrop. And I'll just tell you, this design right here, you might think that is a little bit difficult or maybe annoying to implement in SwiftUI, but this is actually, I played around with this a bunch. I'm really proud of the way this is set up, and I'm just going to explain that to you real quick. So the way this is set up is let me start, I'll just undo this and delete them. So there's one image, just one element, and the key thing here is that it has frame full width. So it is taking up that whole side-to-side space. And then it's got two background modifiers, and in those, all I did was put an H stack with some spacing and two photos. So there's one that's like this, and then one like that. So, this could have been one Z stack with images and moving them and positioning them. But the thing that I really liked about this was that I had really quick control for let's do that back one, spacing. Since there's just a spacer in the middle, I had this quick access to just pushing those two off of each other. So yeah, love how that came out. And everything else about this is pretty basic again. Should work well in dark mode. And yeah. So hopefully I think that's the last login screen here. I've got an iPad version. But that is that's kind of the main thing I wanted to give in this template pack was some login screens. Because, it's the first experience for your app. It's the welcome door. It's the first impression space. So we've got the texty one, a heavy image one, and then kind of an in-between. This one is, let's go a little bigger on this. This is an iPad form of this, so I definitely want to get into making some more iPad templates. I don't have that many at the moment, and people are always asking for those. Truth be told, it is kind of a more difficult space to design in, I think, because we're so used to iPhone stuff, and for iPad, you just have to, feels like you have to design more because you have more space. So you got to think of how to take it up. This, I hope, demonstrates a nice, easy way to be thinking about this, which is that you can put elements, or you really should be putting some elements side by side. That happens a lot going from iPhone to iPad. And also, it doesn't have to be that complex. This is, again, supposed to be like a login screen, right? So there's not a lot of information. And this could have just been centered in the middle as one column, but I think this 2-column thing just feels a little bit more special, feels a little bit more iPad-centric. So a lot of the proportions are different between these two. So when you go between them, you'll see that like image sizes are different, but I really did just reuse that whole thing. So here's our image, full width, and the 2 backgrounds. And then the sign-in stack has its own sort of max width to push in its own space. Okay, let's move on to the next one. So we've only got 2 more. Here is place detail. So this is, moving inside of an app. This is, let's say you've got your login screens and you're looking for something interesting. I wanted to do 2 things with this design. First, I wanted to give another pretty hero kind of header. So this has this nice design that I think is super adaptable for other things. It's just got a nice big image. It's got that same font styling, and it's got that big text. And then as you scroll down, there's 2 interesting sections here. One of them is this sort of image list, which I just think is interesting. It's just got some stats on it, some specs maybe, some text and some symbols, but I think it looks cool. It's stylized, it's on top of an image, and you can use that. And then again, we've got a repeat of some cards. This is such a common pattern that I would totally encourage you to try doing some stuff like this. Some good things to note are, you want to have that scroll container that goes all the way across. It always feels nice to turn off the scroll bar, at least for the horizontal. So I'm going to turn that off again. And then what's the other thing? Yeah, you want to do like padding on the H stack so that it pushes itself off, but doesn't, but still goes edge to edge. I think the one other thing that I'm going to add, I really want to add in the scroll snapping to Details Pro. So as you scroll, they do stop at the right spots. I'm going to look into that for a future update. But this hopefully has some great stuff that you can pull out. And then the final template in this template pack, iPad Place Detail. So here is another, let's just go to full screen. Here is the same concept again. What do you do when you're going to the iPad? Well, you should put some stuff side by side, take up some more of that space. This area on the left, I think could be really interesting. For example, it could have like a panel of buttons at the bottom. It could have collapsible sections. It doesn't have to just be an image and a text block. But this stuff over here, I switched this. This is no longer a scroll. This is a grid, which I thought was a lot cleaner. And there's also just, a paragraph at the bottom. But I think this is just kind of, it's an interesting space. If you have an app that you've been wanting to make an iPad version and you're not sure how to do it, I would play around with this. And I would also just think about, how can I serve up some stuff side by side, give people a little bit more access like that. That is also kind of a lot of what's reflected in Apple's own switches from, nav stacks that go compact to regular and so forth. So yeah, so there is, those are the designs in the May 25 template pack. We messed around with some of these, but I'm really excited to be making these. And please, if you have any ideas or any requests, feel free to email me or join the Discord. And yeah, I hope you enjoy these templates and can't wait to talk to you soon.